Third and final thing I want to touch on regarding moral relativism is more generic. I had the pleasure of this conversation with another fan of philosophy, but she ended up saying to me, there's no objective truth, and truth is the sum of all opinions about something. I think that's not only blatantly wrong, it's also the root of many problems that we have today, because we think that our opinions are we're some of us, some of us that don't have the philosophy muscle. We don't ask ourselves questions. We live in a bubble. We live in echo chambers, and we end up thinking that our opinions are something that actually exists out in the world, and they are worth something, and they carry intrinsic value. Our opinions don't even exist. They have no value whatsoever. And this is something that I always teach my students, that in my classes, we do not respect opinions, because opinions don't exist, so they're worth nothing. It's free to have everybody's free to have an opinion, so it's worth nothing. Something that everybody can have for free is worth nothing. Now, the arguments you use to support your opinion, those are what gives what give an opinion value. That's what gives an opinion its value. The arguments that come to support it. Truth cannot be the sum of all opinions, because things exist outside the human mind too. Imagine being so self-absorbed with your iPhones and your iPads and your MySpaces. I know, I'm one of the millennials who had a chance to use that. But imagine being so self-absorbed that you think that the universe wouldn't exist if a human mind wouldn't be there to contemplate it. Imagine that because everybody in medieval times believed the earth is flat, that meant that the earth is flat. When I gave her this example, she said that the Earth couldn't have been egg-shaped because medieval people didn't know what it meant. So that must mean it was flat then, because medieval people thought it was flat. And in Alexandria, when they wanted to burn Hypatia at the stake for saying the Earth rotates, it probably meant that the Earth doesn't rotate. Yeah. So now, if you gather enough people, and I want your in the back of your mind to keep 1984 as a point of reference for this. So now if you gather enough people saying that 2 plus 2 is 5, it must mean that it's 5, right? No, it doesn't. Also, on the subject, I think it's relevant to note that there's a huge difference between what one thinks is true, honestly, inside their mind, they believe is true, and what they wish were true. Because usually when you ask people what they think, they will say the latter, not the former. But they will say, oh, that's just my opinion. So what? You have the right to an opinion, but nobody should care about that, because it's worthless, because it has no intrinsic value. But when you start justifying it, that's when it matters. This obviously doesn't include religious preference and simple matters of taste. You can't scientifically prove if Beethoven is better than Mozart. But you can prove that today people live longer, better, are happier and freer than they were in medieval times. You can absolutely prove the huge progress that has been made here in Europe and in North America regarding human rights and rights for women and rights for minorities that are not originally from here. And that's worth something. So now that we've come full circle with this conversation, we can safely conclude that there's simply no room for Russian culture in our modern society. It simply needs to disappear. And it needs to disappear quickly and to be disarmed. Because it is not just a toxic mentality and a violent ideology. It is a violent action. And it is happening right now, and we're still sleeping. And the only ones defending us are these brave and noble people who are fighting and dying here every day. So I'm here to try to teach them English, so my own countrymen, the soldiers in the Romanian army, can sleep tight in their own beds. Right.